welcome to our 179th weekly webcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way this call works is this is a 2-hour AMA, meaning ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, personal questions, career questions. I'm here to humbly help you the best I can. I want to kick it off today with a talk about interviewing. So let's discuss interviewing mistakes I've made and interviewing tips so you can get your dream job. Let's kick it off with mistakes I've made so you can laugh at me and not with me. Okay. So the biggest mistake I made was I went to an interview with Microsoft in 1994 when I was at McGill University. I was in the computer science department and I had the interview there. I was so excited. And I showed up early and then the interview was supposed to start. And I looked at my watch and the interviewer was late. And I had my best suit on. It was a really good suit, double-breasted at the time, a little silly, I know. And what happened was a lady walked in, and I thought she was the garbage lady. Her clothes, her shirt was untucked and everything. And so I nicely picked up the garbage, and I said, "La poubelle," which is French for garbage. And she looked at me and she said, "Actually, I'm from Microsoft, and I'll be interviewing you today." So I didn't get that job. So when it comes to clothing, what you have to do and what to wear at an interview, it's pretty simple. You just go to the LinkedIn profile of the people you're going to be meeting with, or go to the website and go to About to see the attire. It's important to make a good first impression, unlike me. Another mistake that I made was I went to a lot of interviews and I would jump right into business. I would try to sell myself and oversell myself as well. And so what happened was I went on a long string of a gazillion interviews without getting a job. And I realized that business is about relationships first and product knowledge second. And so you have to bond with the interviewer first. You know, you talk about the weather or the news, etc. And also what you can do is you go to the Twitter profile of the person you're going to be interviewing with and you see who they follow. And if they follow, I don't know, baseball teams, you can talk about baseball. If they talk about movies, you can talk about movies, that sort of thing. Just bond with them. And I was so frustrated because I couldn't get a job. And so eventually I went to an interview and I told myself right before it starts, I just don't care if I get this job. And when I was at that interview, I remember what I did was I just kind of sat back and it was just me. And I got that job. And the next interview I had with another company, I was just myself. I got that job as well. You got to tell yourself you just don't care right before it starts. And I'm not saying be reckless or disingenuous at all, but just be you. You do you. Because as Dr. Seuss said, those who matter don't mind and those who mind don't matter. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Now, another thing I want to talk about with respect to interviews is you have to have structure in your logic. Okay, and there are a bunch of crutches that I teach my students about in terms of frameworks when you're interviewing. For example, you've got the SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so if somebody asks you a case study related question or a question about business in general in an interview, in order to buy time and add structure to your logic, you can answer like this. Let me explain this using the SWOT analysis. I'll kick it off with the strengths. The strengths of this business are blah, blah, blah. Moving on to the weaknesses. The weaknesses are blah, blah, blah. I'm buying time. In terms of the opportunities are blah, blah, blah. And lastly, the threats. The biggest threats are yada, yada, yada. And the bottom line is this. And so in addition to using the SWOT analysis framework, I provide you with a bunch of transition words as well. And transition words can really help you think and buy time. And it's why a lot of times teachers in class or people that are doing a presentation in front of thousands of people, they'll repeat the question so they can buy time. So what are the best transition words? You can use moving on to, in terms of the bottom line is. Another thing I learned is that you have to set up Google Alerts before your interview. So you just do a search on Google Alerts and you enter in the name of the company you're going to be interviewing with a couple days before the interview. And you'll get automatic email alerts if there's an important news development that comes up about that company. so that the morning of your interview, as you walk into the interview, you can get the alerts right here. So you're very, very well prepared. The last thing I'll say is rambling. I rambled before in interviews. You got to keep your answers short and concise. And if you don't know the answer, you simply say, I don't know, but I'll find out. And then later on that day, you send a thank you email with the contents as follows. Joanne, for example. I enjoyed our meeting today. Thank you very much for your time, period. In terms of your question about X, I did some research and here are my humble thoughts. Thanks again, Chris. Okay. All right. Let's do this. All right. First up, I've got Nima, who wrote, Chris, as always, thank you for your great content. My pleasure. What is your opinion on Peter Thiel's Miami Bitcoin speech? Yeah, I saw it. So Peter Thiel, for those of you who don't know him, he's an amazing investor and entrepreneur. He was one of the co-founders of PayPal, along with Max Levchin. He also founded Founders Fund, his venture capital firm, where he was the first investor in Facebook. And when I worked in venture capital, I also invested in Facebook, but every VC firm did. Now, Peter Thiel is a libertarian, okay? And although he's affiliated with the Republican Party, I think he's much more right-wing than that even, yeah. And so he's even talked about creating his own island and his own country. And in that speech in Miami, what he did was he talked about the future of cryptocurrency, and he ripped up a $100 bill. And people take him seriously when it comes to fintech or finance technology because he was the co-founder of PayPal. He also had some not so nice words to say about Warren Buffett. Now, Warren Buffett is a value investor. He believes in investing in companies or products that are cheap, that throw off a lot of cash, whereas Peter Thiel is the antithesis of a value investor. He's a growth investor, right? So he believes in investing in companies that are expensive today, but will be cheap many years from now when they capture a big part of the market. So it's just a difference in the investment philosophy. And it's like religion. It's really contentious when it comes to investing with value investors versus growth investors. They don't get along at all. So hopefully that answers your question. If you have additional questions about Peter Thiel or cryptocurrencies or anything, please let me know, and thank you. Okay, moving on to, see the transition word? Moving on to Burkay. Burkay wrote, hi, Chris, hope all is well with you and your family. Likewise, good to see you. Can you maybe recommend some books about learning financial modeling? Thanks a lot. Yeah, there aren't that many out there. But what I recommend doing is if you ever go into the office of somebody that's very successful, look at their bookshelf if they still have physical books, because you should read all of those. I'll give you an example. So I worked at a big hedge fund called Citadel. And I was in Chicago, and I had a half-hour meeting with Ken Griffin, who's the CEO of the company. And I looked at his bookshelf, and I saw books by Damodaran. Okay, now, Damodaran is a great finance professor at NYU. And so I recommend checking out Damodaran's books. Aside from that, probably my favorite finance book, so to speak, is called Financial Shenanigans by Howard Shillett. And he was the founder of the CIFRA, which is a forensic accounting firm, CFRA. And so what he does is he teaches you in his book, Financial Shenanigans, how to look at patterns in the data in financial statements so you can uncover material issues. For example, if revenue is growing a lot, but bookings is not, meaning deferred revenue, then that means the company might miss the next quarter. And for more details on investing and creating financial models, please join my MBA program, and you can get the details here at the bottom. Thank you. All right, next up we've got Len Corey. Hey Len, thank you for signing up 2 days ago for my upcoming MBA program that starts on June the 1st. Thank you. You wrote, thank you for the excellent approach that you developed with the MBA course. Thanks for that, appreciate it. It does make learning an enjoyable process. Thank you. Then you wrote, thank you for the opportunity to learn from your experiences. Thanks for that, I appreciate it. Now, when I was younger, I didn't get the best grades at all. In fact, they wanted to fail me a couple times in school, in the 6th grade and the 8th grade. And the reason was, and they thought I had a learning disability. They sent me to test centers, which killed my confidence, but made me work harder because I had a chip on my shoulder. The reason my grades were poor was because I was doing something I'm not passionate about. And then in the 8th grade, my dad bought a Mac for the family, and that changed my life. And so the bottom line is, when you're learning, it has to be enjoyable. And that's why when I teach, I use a lot of props as well, right? So for example, I'm starting to teach about programming, which is going to be added to my MBA degree program soon. And I'm teaching about sub-procedures and subroutines using my 3D printer. That's coming up soon. Also, when I teach my programming course is coming up soon, I'll be teaching using different objects. And when we were younger in school, we probably don't remember what the teacher said, but we remember the props they brought in or your friends brought in during show and tell. So when it comes to programming, in my upcoming programming courses, I talk about how to make an object and change the object. So you start high level. If you want to change the eraser from pink to green, you would say pencil.eraser.color equals green. A little bit of dad humor here. I have very, very small hands. When you meet me in real life, I'm a tiny person. So I like to use the visual approach when it comes to teaching a lot of props, so it's enjoyable and it's edutaining. And then Len wrote here, side note, I'll pop on and off the call due to work, but I always listen to them in full afterwards. Have an awesome day. Thank you. And we also have actually a podcast that a lot of people don't know about, but if you go to my website, which is harouneducation.com, and you go to About, there's a podcast right here as well, if you don't want to attend this live. Yeah. All right. Next up, Optimus Pro wrote, hello, Chris. Thanks for the value you keep giving us. My pleasure. Thanks for showing up here. I appreciate it. I bought your course last week, and I'll start going through it by next week. I wanted to ask, how can one get early investors with shared values? Yeah. So it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Now, when you're trying to raise capital early on, do not talk to a venture capital firm. What you should do instead is talk to high net worth investors with something in common with you. So you can always go to LinkedIn, and I teach advanced networking in my MBA program. You can always go to LinkedIn and do a search on somebody that is in the same organization as you, or the same charitable organization, or maybe they follow certain charitable causes. And you can filter based on that and the school you went to and send them an email. So for example, let's say that you're interested in the solar industry and you went to McGill University, which is my undergraduate university. You can do an advanced search in LinkedIn. Then you send an email as follows. Okay, now everybody on this call, you've opened every email you've received in LinkedIn, but you certainly haven't opened every email. So you send the email to this person that's also part of this solar committee that went to McGill, for example. And you do it like this. Subject line, hi. Contents of the message, you keep it short because less is more. And you say this. John, hope all is well. I also went to McGill University, and I'm also passionate about the solar industry. Please let me know if you have time for a coffee or a quick Zoom call in the next couple of weeks. Thanks a lot, Chris. Now you don't say, and this is great for general networking if you want to get a job as well. You don't say why you want to meet, and that's not an unethical thing. Because if you tell them why you want to meet, they might not respond because they feel bad they can't help you. But it works exceptionally well. Let me quickly pivot and talk about getting a job by applying online. Whenever you see a job opening online, the chances of you getting that job by sending in your resume is literally 1 out of 250. It's true. So the person that gets that job is usually the person that knows somebody that works at that company. So what I humbly recommend doing is finding companies you want to work at and setting up a lot of informational meetings using the methodology I just explained with LinkedIn. I promise you it works. I promise you it works. Find something in common because people want to help you, especially if they come from a similar background. All you got to do is ask. All right, next up I've got Andre, who's in my MBA program. How are you? Good morning as well. Okay. The Refuge wrote, this is my first time. Welcome, and I hope you join us again. Thank you. You wrote, how and when do we submit questions to Chris? Just type them here, and I answer them in the order in which I receive them. And then at 10 a.m. my time, That's 10 a.m. Pacific time in about 1 hour and 45 minutes. I do a Zoom call with just my Silver MBA students. And just go to the first lesson of the Silver MBA if you purchased it, and you'll see the link there. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Abhi wrote, what data should I look at to predict foreign exchanges like stocks and options? Yeah. So it's very difficult to predict what the value is going to be of a currency. And I don't recommend doing it because we're fooled by randomness, right? So what happens is the value of the Russian ruble, for example, it all depends on what Putin does next. We have no idea. So it's very, very difficult to estimate that. Yeah. Now, whenever times are tough and the global economy is in free fall, the United States dollar tends to outperform because it's seen as a flight to quality. But again, it's tough to call those trends. That's why I'm more of a long-term investor. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Forex and options, in the 4th semester of my MBA program, I have a 30-hour section based on that. It's an elective I recently added. And for those of you in my MBA program, I have 5 core sectors that we cover: entrepreneurship, finance and accounting, sales, marketing, communications, as well as personal growth and sales, marketing, and economics management and strategy. I'm adding a 6th one very soon, which is technology. And that's where I'll be teaching about programming. I was a coder back in the 90s at Accenture many, many years ago. Yeah. And anybody that signs up for my MBA, you'll get access to all future stuff I add to it forever. Okay. Next up, Patricia, who's a platinum student this year in my MBA program. Great to see you. Thank you. Good morning as well. Moving on to Nick. Nick wrote, hello, Chris and everyone. It's Nick from Georgia. It's been a while since I haven't been that active. For now, just expressing my gratitude towards you and all of your students. And I wish I met you in Georgia. I actually went there this past summer. And this is from one of my courses here. I was in Atlanta, and my son did an internship at a company there. So I wish I met with you. I met with Eileen Dale Gracias, who's also a student in my MBA program. Thank you. Okay. And then Nick wrote, I'm in the first year of the MBA. Awesome, great. I might not be that active, but I promise I'm always listening closely, and I'll catch up to everything. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then Nick wrote, I just want to say a massive thank you for everything. You're still changing my life day to day and helping a ton of your students. Sending lots of love and respect to you and your lovely family. Thank you. And God bless you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Give me 1 second here, guys. Okay. All right. So next up, I've got, and if I missed anybody, just paste it again. By the way, YouTube doesn't allow you to paste in links. It's bizarre. Yeah. All right. So Eileen, speaking of Atlanta, wow, Eileen Deo Gracias. And Eileen, she was born in the Philippines. And she moved to Atlanta. She graduated from my MBA program a couple of years ago. And her last name, Deo Gracias, pardon me, is a beautiful last name because it's Spanish for thank God. I love it. And I met with Eileen actually in Atlanta recently. Great to see you. Great to see you. And her friend growing up actually is my priest. It's Father Peter at my church here. And I had a coffee with him 2 Sundays ago, by the way. Good guy. Good guy. So Eileen wrote, good morning, Chris. Good morning. Nathan and I are looking forward to touching base with you later today. So grateful for your time. Awesome. I'm looking forward to our one-on-one. Thank you. Okay. Shiva, how are you? Hi, Chris. I just want to say thank you for the amazing course. Recently, I started digging deeper into the lesson and love them. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And for anybody that's purchased any of my courses or MBA programs, there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. I don't check which students ask for a refund, but just know that. You could get your money back anytime. Thank you. I'm the worst salesperson ever. Okay, next up we have Patrick who wrote, Happy Good Friday. Happy Good Friday to you as well. And Happy Easter to you and your family. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. A few webcasts ago, you asked me to send you some music. What's the best email to use to send it? Yeah, send it to support@harounventures.com, and I'll put it actually onto my webcast on the splash screen at the beginning. And I'll give you credit as well, of course. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Next up, I have got Ruby. Ruby, how are you? Ruby's in my MBA program this year. Good morning to you as well. Hope you're doing great. And we have Hari, who wrote, Chris, you look younger in this get-up, awaiting the Zoom call today. Thank you. I got to share with you why I look a bit younger, okay? And it's, I went to my doctor, and I asked my doctor, you know, how can I look younger? I usually have big bags under my eyes. I only got 3 hours sleep last night, but that's okay. And the doctor said, you know, well, you can do Botox. I'm not putting a needle in my face. So I have this incredible product here, okay? I'm not sponsored, I never will be, but I want to humbly help. You can get 3 of these for $28, okay? Now, it's called Peter Thomas Roth, and all you do is, if you're really tired, which I am today, but I feel great, and you have bags under your eyes or lines, you put this on, and I kid you not, within 5 minutes, all the lines are gone. All the lines are gone. Yeah, it's bizarre. So it's called Peter Thomas Roth Instant Firm Eye. Yeah. All right. You don't need Botox. Use that. All right. Next up, Renveer wrote, hello, Chris. I hope you are doing well. Likewise. Likewise. Rose, how are you? Rose was in my platinum class my first year back in 2019. She was editor of the yearbook as well, which I have over here. She's from Virginia. Great to see you, as always. Okay. And then Renveer wrote, what are your thoughts on the impact of the French election on the euro? Yeah, I'm not up to speed on that as well at all. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay. If this was an interview, I would say this. I don't know, but I'll find out. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Daniel wrote, hi, Chris. I appreciate your advice last week. You're most welcome. Currently, I'm thoroughly enjoying the venture capital section of the Haroun Education MBA program. Thanks again, Daniel. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And you'll enjoy actually the third semester. So if you go to E32, that's entrepreneurship, semester 3, class number 2, I start the venture capital boot camp there, where I train you how to start a company, raise capital, and all that stuff. And make sure that before anybody starts a business, write a business plan first, because failing to plan is planning to fail. Yeah, and it can ruin your life and your health, your wealth, all that stuff, your relationships. And I provide you all the templates you need. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. I get rid of that thing on the bottom. It's kind of bothering me. Hold on a second, guys. So let me go over here, and I'll show you behind the scenes here how this works. This banner at the bottom off. Much better. Okay, good. Great. Okay. Next up, Daniel wrote, good morning, Chris. I need an international marketing firm that can present and sell my product to products in duty-free shops. Have you worked with any international marketing firms? I have not. Looks like you're looking for additional distribution channels. So I would do a search online for indirect distribution channels for marketing-related products. Right? So if you're in the industrial sector, you'll use Grainger, ticker GWW, or Fastenal, ticker FAST. So you need to find a commensurate version of that for consumer products. Yeah. All right. And my marketing team is asking me, if this is helpful, please click the like button and subscribe. Thank you. All right. All right, next up we have Manas, who's from India. Great to see you. I bought your book. Manas has a book called Bonds Before Business. And he used my template, which you can get at harounmba.com/writebook, all one word. And it'll help you. It's a free download. I don't ask for your email or anything. It'll help you write a book in 6-inch by 9-inch format. It costs you nothing to publish it in print format, Kindle, etc. Okay. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate that, guys. All right. So Manas wrote, good morning, my dear mentor. You look dope. A new look from you and from a futuristic movie. Thank you. I appreciate that. A little bit different here. Yeah. And then you wrote, hope all is well. How's everything going? Things are always great. Thanks. My oldest son, this is from years ago. He's going to university next year. are actually starting September this year. Breaks my heart. I won't shed a tear though, because he's going close by to where we live. So he got into to Berkeley. I'm very proud of him. He takes after his mother, my wife, who's smart. I'm not. He's going to be doing engineering at Berkeley, which is close to where I live here. So we're grateful. And by the way, for those of you with kids, by the time your child is 12 years old, you've already spent 90% of the time you'll ever spend with them. So you can't get that time back. I missed one of the daddy child breakfast days when he was in preschool. I'll never forget it because I had an important meeting. I don't remember what that meeting was though. Yeah, but I remember missing that day. Yeah, so family first always. Yeah. Okay. And so question is from Manas, any specific projects and how is Project Magu going? It's going well, thanks. I have a follow-up call with Vital soon. So for those of you not familiar with what we're doing, we're building schools overseas. It's called Project Magu. One of my MBA students is from Rwanda. And you can go to projectmagu.org to learn more. And yeah, so here he is here. Yeah, I met him in Berlin. And so the school's going well. It'll be done this year. And we're actually doing another one in Kenya with one of my Platinum MBA students named Haroun. And I'm going to Kenya next year, actually, next summer, not this summer. Yeah, and that's us doing the first dig. That's me. Okay. And next up we have Shiva. Who wrote, can you please recommend some books for building a healthy and thriving company culture, especially at the beginning when we start building a startup from scratch, choosing business partners, etc. Yeah. So the corporate culture of any firm is usually based on the personality of the founder. Okay. So for example, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they're extraordinarily motivated and they work their employees very, very hard. Okay. And at Amazon, the company is run like a small business. Right? Because since Amazon was started, they've been very, very cheap internally with everything. You know, their desks are actually doors, old doors, just to save money. And every meeting that takes place at Amazon, you're not allowed to have more than 2 pizzas. It's called the 2 pizza rule. And what that means is no meeting is ever allowed to take place at Amazon that requires more than 2 pizzas to feed the people in the room. Otherwise, if you have too many people in a meeting, kind of like if you have too many people in a school project or in a corporate meeting, nothing gets done, right? So they keep it very, very small. But in terms of a happy corporate culture, I would probably say listen to books, audiobooks that are narrated by Sir Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin, because every employee at Virgin is happy. Now, if you've ever flown Virgin Atlantic, everybody's happy. And so the corporate culture is often set by the person that started the company. Listen to his books, they're great. Okay. All right, next up, Manas wrote, why is Europe facing a 20% increase in inflation after 50 days of the Russia-Ukraine war? Do you think global inflation will go up? Yeah, I don't think it's gonna get too much worse than it is right now. Inflation in the United States is now 8.5%. And that's really hard for a lot of people because they didn't get a raise in the past year, but everything is, 8.5% more expensive. And so what's happening is the United States government, the Federal Reserve, is raising interest rates. They have to. If you don't raise interest rates when times are good, then you can't help the economy when times are bad. Let me show you a prop here. Where is it? Got a fun one here. Yeah. Right. So the way it works is, this will be a nice prop. You won't forget it. The way it works is when the economy is doing really, really well, the government should raise interest rates. Because if they don't, then when times are bad, they can't jumpstart the economy, right? They can't jumpstart the economy. And the way to jumpstart the economy and help the economy is to cut rates. You put more, I'm out of fake $100 bills here. You put more money out there, and what happens is if the supply of money increases a lot, interest rates go down. The problem is, if you don't raise rates when times are good, then you can't jumpstart the economy when times are bad. And so the problem with what's happening right now is rates were basically zero for about 2 years because of COVID. And you can't jumpstart the economy any other way. So it's a tough situation we're in, and to add insult to injury with what Russia is doing, which is disgusting, invading Ukraine. That's driving up the price of oil, and I think that was part of Putin's intention. You see, Putin, what he did was when he was in university, he did a geology degree, and his thesis at university was, how can we get the Soviet Union, the USSR at the time, to control most of the world's natural resources? Okay, so the problem is that they've got these massive oil and gas companies like Lukoil and Gazprom that supply most of gas and oil to many countries in Europe. And so Germany, for example, they're stuck. There's not much they can do right now because the price of oil is going up a lot, which is financing this disgusting war that Mr. Putin has on the Ukraine right now. It's frustrating. So I think the only alternative is longer term, we all stop relying on oil, right? And I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a ton of government incentive programs coming in a lot of countries in Europe to not use oil or gas anymore, to punish what Putin is doing. It's frustrating. And what's also frustrating is the fact that, a lot of countries like Egypt, where my father is from, a lot of countries like Egypt, most of their agricultural imports come from the Ukraine, like grain, for example. And of course, the price of grain is going through the roof right now, so is corn. And Ukraine, their GDP just contracted 48% year over year for obvious reasons. And so they can't export as much food to countries, which is terrible. It's terrible, yeah. And I'm glad we have all these economic sanctions in place for Putin. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Suzanne wrote, hello from the Philippines. How are you? Great to see you. Eileen Del Gracias is from the Philippines originally. Great to see you. You wrote, I just started with the MBA program. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And we have Dr. Mark Vincent Beza. He's a medical doctor from the Philippines. I think he's in Manila. He graduated 2 years ago. Check him out if you want to network with him. We have a great network. And you wrote, my background is in human resources, and I'm enjoying the finance and accounting module so far. Thanks for making it fun and for simplifying concepts. It's 11 p.m. here. Thank you. Thank you. And God bless you. God bless you. Moving on to Manas, who wrote, what happened last week? You abruptly ended the webcast. Yeah. You wrote, I hope everything is well and everyone is keeping well. Yeah, thanks. I've never done that before. I think it was with about 20 minutes left. I had to end it. We had a family emergency, but thank God everything is okay. And whenever you have a family emergency, and like I remember years ago, my dad had a heart attack in 2005. And I'll never forget this. I'm going to open up here. But I was here in the Bay Area. I was working at Citadel. I was in corporate housing. And we got that call in the middle of the night. And so I was it's awful. And so we had to hop on a flight in the middle of the night. And so what I did was I was packing my suitcase. And I'm such an optimist, right? But when I was packing my suitcase, I threw in my suit. And I was like, fuck you, suit. I threw it out. I just packed other clothes. Sorry for swearing there, guys. And then we flew back. And thank God my father was okay. My brother's a doctor. He's a radiologist, which means he fixes radios. So he was able to get my dad to emerge quickly. My dad was fine. But after it happened, after I flew back here to San Francisco in January of 2005 from Toronto, after that, I was happier after it happened. And when I knew my dad was okay, I was happier after it happened than before it happened. Because I realized what a gift it is to have my father around. So, every morning when I wake up, before I get out of bed, to get myself into a peak mental state, I practice gratitude. And I always thank God for these 10 things in this order before I get out of bed. Christine, my wife, Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, my 3 sons, my mom, my dad, my brother Jamie, my sisters Katie and Elizabeth, and you, my students. So I practice gratitude every day, and I recommend everybody do that as well. Because if you focus on being happy with what you have, you'll be happy forever. And the problem with a lot of billionaires, and I've worked for a lot of them, I'm not going to say which ones, but some of these billionaires, what happens is they get caught later on in life doing something wrong, and they can get arrested. It happens all the time. And so you think to yourself, when you see these news releases, why are these people doing this? You know, for example, according to the Wall Street Journal, there was an insider trading allegation against David Geffen, because what he did was he met with Bobby Kotick, the founder of Activision, in January of this year, 1 or 2 days before the announcement of Microsoft buying Activision. And so he bought a lot of call options, and the SEC is investigating it right now. And I'm not going to talk about David Geffen, his personality, whatnot, because he's done a lot of things, great things, donating hundreds of millions of dollars to UCLA medical school, etc. But some of these people, they get caught for doing something illegal, and they're already billionaires. And so you have to conclude that maybe that's how they made their billions. They cheated. They just got caught now. Once a cheater, always a cheater. And the problem with Western society, according to the Dalai Lama, is we sacrifice our health, our entire lives to make money. And at the end of our lives, we sacrifice all of our money to maintain our health. And then we look back and we realize we never really lived to begin with. And so as Oprah Winfrey said, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. So always be grateful for what you have. Practice gratitude before getting out of bed every morning. And I promise you that will put you in a peak mental state every single day. Okay. But everything is okay, by the way, last week, that family emergency we had. Yeah. But thank you. God bless you, Manas, for asking. I love you. Thanks. Okay. Pardon me. And just in life in general, just remember that things are never as bad as you think. And Winston Churchill once said he met a man on his deathbed who talked about all the worries he had in his life, none of which came true. It's not work that kills us, it's worry. Hakuna Matata. Okay, next up we have Ryan. Ryan wrote, hi, Chris. What technical analysis do you recommend to support entry and exit levels? Keeping in mind, I've already modeled out and stressed the respective intrinsic values. Awesome, awesome. So you've done the fundamental work and the valuation-based work, and you build out your financial model as I teach in my courses, yeah. So when it comes to technical analysis, and I'm begging anybody in this call that's a short-term trader, please be careful. Be a long-term focused investor because you get fooled by randomness. But when it comes to technical analysis, I like to look at the relative strength index and I like to look at support levels. So let me show you an example. All right, so let's go here to, I guess I'll pick Tesla. All right, so when it comes to technical analysis, this is me buying time. It's loading. Come on, there we go. Good. I like to look at the relative strength index first. So let's look at a chart here of Tesla. Okay, good. And let me get rid of that. I'm going to go to indicators here, and I'm going to add the RSI. Okay, and overbought is going to be a green line, which means you buy, or pardon me, you sell. Overbought, green, you sell. Oversold, 20, you buy. So I'm going to save that here, and I'll show you exactly what this looks like. And give me 1 second. I'm going to get my face off in the corner here. Sounds like a Canadian hockey term. 1 second. Okay, good. Great. All right, cool. So what you see right here on the bottom is the RSI, the relative strength index, okay? And whenever you see a reading up at 80, that's when you sell because too many people are buying the stock in a short amount of time. And whenever you see a rating close to 20, you buy. It doesn't always work though. So for example, right here, Tesla was massively overbought and it pulled back. And here it started getting somewhat oversold and it bounced back a bit. And we call this mean reversion. It doesn't always work though. Now what I want to do also is I want to look at the 50 and 200-day moving average. And I'll add these here, moving averages. So just the 50-day we'll look at first. Okay, so the 50-day moving average is the average stock price over the past 50 days. And when the stock breaks down through the 50-day, people get worried and they start selling. So right here, it was holding up nicely. It bounced a number of times. Then it got overbought here, as I discussed a second ago. And then here, when it broke through the 50-day moving average, a lot of technical traders got worried and they started selling, okay, and it underperformed. So take a look at that. You can also look at the 200-day moving average as well, okay, 200. And longer-term investors tend to look at this more so. Okay, so right here, and they're both the same color. Let me actually change the color of one of these. Okay, so I'll change the 50 to green, and the 200 will stay purple. Okay, good. So a lot of people look at the 200-day moving average as well. And people get worried sometimes when the 50-day crosses down through the 200-day moving average. They call that a death nail or death cross, whatever. Golden cross is the opposite of that. So if the 50-day moving average here, the green line, were to break down through the 200-day moving average, the purple line, if it did, you would see panic selling. Okay, but again, I humbly recommend that everybody focus primarily on fundamentals, then valuation, then a distant third is technical analysis. And I provide you with all the tools in your toolbox or arrows in your quiver in my MBA program so that you can come up with your own investment decisions. And never rely on anybody. Don't rely on me to tell you what to buy and sell. Do your own work always. Otherwise, you'll sell at the worst time. And as Warren Buffett said, the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Okay. Next up, Rose wrote, what is your opinion on the Warner Discovery merger that was approved this past week and now trading on the market as WBD? They now control major assets like CNN, HBO, DC Comics, Animal Planet, etc. Yeah, I think it makes a hell of a lot of sense. You know, you look at the other big player in the market, Disney, who bought Marvel, you know, back in 05 or 06, whatever it was. Makes a lot of sense. And they knew that the antitrust department or the DOJ, Department of Justice, would not block the deal because Disney is way more powerful. So it makes a hell of a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, the United States is bringing its oil reserves out. How much oil does the U.S. have in stock, and where's the stock kept? Sorry for being a little political. That's okay, man. No worries at all. Yeah. So they rarely do this. They're doing it because of Russia, obviously, and I lost my spot, so I'm going to do a search for oil. There we go. I found it. Good. They rarely do this, and the United States is not dependent on oil really, or on Russia really for anything. 3% of our imports for oil came from Russia, obviously zero now, and so the American government has offset this by increasing the reserves. The reserves are stored for the most part in Texas. Yeah. And one of my students, my MBA program, George, I met with him. He came in December for graduation, the alumni event. He gave me this cup. Don't mess with Texas. Yeah. And George, if you're on the call, I miss you, brother. All right. Okay, and Ryan has a follow-up on his question about technical analysis. He's saying, the reason I ask is, well, I'm not trying to time the market. I do believe the market could stay irrational longer than we can stay solvent. And that's a wonderful quote. Let me say it again. The market can stay irrational longer than we can stay solvent. Don't ever try to pick market tops or bottom. Just be long-term focused. Yeah. And when I invest, I look for 5x5s, meaning stocks that have a 500% return within 5 years. Am I wrong a lot? Oh my God, yeah. But when I'm right, usually directionally it works out okay for me. Yeah. Okay, next up, Manas wrote, China is invading Taiwan. No. Oh, okay, you wrote, China is invading Taiwan again, the airspace. Do you think we'll see a spark in China towards Taiwan? How will it affect the world economy? Yeah, I think the United States government, one of the reasons, many reasons they have very severe economic sanctions on Russia invading Ukraine is because if the whole world accepted this, then it might lead the Chinese government or Beijing to think, well, maybe we can take Taiwan back. And I think that would be a disaster, absolute disaster. Yeah. And I pray it never happens. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Steve. Steve wrote, hi, Chris. Thanks for the amazing job. Thank you. I appreciate that. What do you think about Elon Musk buying Twitter? Yeah, so Elon Musk owns more than 9% of Twitter. He's the largest shareholder now, larger shareholder than Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter. I think it's a brilliant move. It's a brilliant move because when you think about companies like Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola has $40 billion in annual revenue, and they spend 10% of that budget on advertising, $4 billion a year. And most companies spend about 10% as well, so do I. Have you ever seen a commercial for a Tesla car? I haven't. And so what Elon Musk does is he leverages being controversial and social media in order to get free PR. It's absolutely genius. And Sir Richard Branson does this as well, and Mark Benioff, in a very tasteful way. You have to be somewhat confrontational whenever you're trying to disrupt an industry. Because if you are, what happens is you get a lot of media attention. So, for example, Mark Benioff, many years ago, when he founded Salesforce in 1999, his logo was software with an X through it, because he was saying that cloud makes more sense. And because of that, he was controversial and tasteful. I respect him. He's a great humanitarian. I met him a number of times. He's very confrontational, and he got a lot of free publicity because of it, right? And he made friends with 50 of the top finance and tech journalists in the world, and he got free PR that way. And we should do that with our business models as well. Sir Richard Branson does that as well with respect to any product he's launching. When he launched Virgin Cola back in the 1980s to compete with Coca-Cola, he even rented a tank and drove it into Times Square. You can't do that now, obviously. And it didn't work out, Virgin Cola, for him. But he got a lot of PR for it. So in terms of my business, from a PR perspective, I could come after Harvard Business School, HBS. I can say that 2/3 of HBS is BS. Or is that Haroun Business School, HBS? I don't know which one's full of BS. Probably me. But anyway, I think Elon is just being controversial there as well. He's smart, though, because he's not joining the board. And usually when you buy a big stake in a company, you have a fiduciary duty or a fiscal responsibility to whoever you're buying it for, right? Big mutual funds do usually. He's not joining the board, though, which is smart. And I'm sure his lawyers told him, don't do that. The SEC will be all over it. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Alan wrote, hi, Chris. Hey. Do you have an NFT course? I don't. It's something I've been working on. But if you want, you can always go to my website here. And I've answered more than 10,000 questions over the past couple of years on my webcasts. And so if you go up here and you do a search for anything like NFT, for example, and you hit enter, you can watch all my videos I've ever made on NFTs. This one here is great, I humbly think. This here, I talked about GameStop. And let's talk about NFTs. And yeah, when my hair was shorter. But you can watch this video here. I think it's really, really helpful. Look how pale I looked that day. Yeah. All right. Moving on to Yasin, who wrote, hi, Chris. Hey. What are the steps to take from a business idea to valuation to MVP, et cetera? Yeah, and MVP stands for minimum viable product. Yeah. And what you want to do is you want to get your product out there before it's perfect. Because as Salvador Dali said, if you strive for perfection, you'll never reach it. And Reid Hoffman, who's the co-founder of LinkedIn, he said, you have to get your product out before it's ready. Otherwise, you miss the market. So I believe in testing the market a lot by releasing your products early. So my MBA program, it wasn't tested 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it was when we launched it, but we put it out there, and now I think it's much, much better. Yeah, and had we not done that, we would have missed the market completely. Now, in terms of validating an idea and thinking it through before launching, you have to write a thorough business plan. And in my MBA degree program, in the 3rd semester, we have a venture capital boot camp where I help you write your business plan from scratch. I help you present to investors as well if you want to raise money, et cetera. And it's based on my humble experience, working in venture capital for years, having invested and partnered with 500 startups in the past, et cetera. Yeah. And for those of you in the MBA program, you can fast forward right now in the program to E32 through E36. That's Entrepreneurship Semester 3, Class 2 through Class 6. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Nassim, who wrote, hi, Chris. Hey, give us some thoughts on how to persist in finding clients for the fresh entrepreneurs. Yeah. Yeah, so relationships are always more important than product knowledge. Your network is your net worth, right? And so when we're younger in school, we keep our heads down, we get good grades, and life works out great. But then we start working, and we keep our heads down, and we think we're doing a good job, and we're going to get noticed. And we look around, and other people are getting raises and promotions faster than us. Why? 2 things. Number 1, they ask for it multiple times behind closed doors with their boss. And number 2, they network a lot. Okay, so asking you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. And network a lot. find mentors in the companies you all work at. And similarly, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to network like crazy using LinkedIn to get a ton of informational meetings. And I teach advanced networking in much more detail in my MBA program. Yeah. Okay. All right. And let me just I'm going to add that little link back at the bottom here. And let me show you behind the scenes here. Okay. So I'm going to go here to this one. And I'll turn this on here in case you're curious about the MBA program. Okay, good. Great. Okay, cool. Next up, Ryan is asking, does your confidence level rise when making a purchasing decision if the price of the stock is trading well below its respective intrinsic values when stressed to the max using DCF, PEG, price to sales, etc.? Yeah. As long as there's nothing materially wrong with the company. So if it looks like you're catching a falling knife by buying the stock, I mean the chart's like this, and if it's due to a lawsuit or material change to the fundamentals of the business, then my confidence gets worse. However, I love buying broken stocks, but not broken companies. What does that mean? Well, broken stocks are stocks that are oversold, meaning investors are getting too emotional selling. And the best metric to use to decide when to buy stocks, and I put my reputation on the line for this, this is the only indicator I ever share with my students. This always works. Okay. So if we go to Yahoo Finance, I'm going to show you something that's going to, I promise you this will make you a lot of money in the long run. Okay. So there's something called the VIX. And the VIX was created by the Chicago Board of Exchange back in 1990. And what the VIX does is it measures how volatile options traders expect the S&P 500 to be in the next 30 days. Okay. And what you need to do is when you look at the VIX here, if you ever see the VIX spike above 70 or 80, no matter what, you have to buy lots of stocks. You have to. And I promise you, when this happens, it's going to feel like death. It's going to feel like, oh my God, the world is ending. But it's not. Things are never as bad as you think. So if we go back in time here, you can see that the VIX spiked to above 70. Actually, it was above 80 back in March of 2020. And that was one of the generational low points to buy stocks. It always works. Another data point to use was the VIX was above 70 back in the fall of 2008 when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working. And you have to be unemotional and buy stocks when the VIX is above 70. Elon Musk, who's very successful, partially because he's unemotional, and you got to be that way in business. Elon Musk backed up the truck and bought a lot of Tesla stock back in March of 2020 when the VIX was above 80, and he made a fortune. And then what he did was in the fall of last year, if you're watching the replay of 2022 today, but in the fall of last year, he sold a lot of Tesla stock when the VIX was very low. Okay, he's very unemotional, and we have to be the same way as well if we want to do well. You got to be a contrarian. Because if you buy the same stock that everybody else loves, there aren't that many incremental investors to push that stock higher. Yeah. Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy, as Warren Buffett says. Yeah. All right. Great questions today. Manas wrote, Udemy has a student base of around 10 million in the next 10 years. Is it going to be more or less relevant with the presence of Web 3.0 and blockchain tech? So the way I think about it is I think that educational tech will be much, much bigger in 5 or 10 years than it is today. And there was a massive bump up in sales I saw, humbly, during COVID, because a lot of people were learning at home. And I felt guilty, so I made all my courses free. Remember that back in March of 2020. I had to hire a couple employees to answer all the questions. I had like a million people sign up for some of my courses. It was crazy, but good. I'm glad I did it. And so I think what COVID did was it kind of pulled forward my vision of the future of education by 20 years, because people can learn from home. And for more details on my long-term thesis, you can always watch my TEDx talk. Just do a search for it online. And so if you're asking me if Udemy and other ed tech companies are going to be more relevant or less relevant with Web 3.0, I say much more relevant. And I'm tying in Web 3.0 to my content now as well in my MBA program. And for those of you not familiar with Web 3.0, it's also referred to as the metaverse. So Web 1.0 was back in the 1990s when we had just static web pages. Web 2.0 was from the year 2000 until recently, where you had much more dynamic stuff like apps, etc. Web 3.0 is going to be VR and AR based. Okay, and there's so much money going into this right now, and the best investments are always the ones where you own the road, right? It's a platform. So Facebook, they bought Oculus, and Facebook even rebranded themselves Meta because they understand Web 3.0 and the metaverse is going to be a big deal. Sony is releasing the second version of their VR headset soon. Microsoft has a product called HoloLens, which is similar to this, but higher end, it's more expensive. This is Nintendo's product. And Google invested $500 million in a company called Magic Leap in Florida many years ago, which is VR and AR based. And if you're curious what it's going to look like, I actually did a webcast not too long ago. If you go to my website, and then you just go to my past webcasts, I did a webcast, my weekly in the metaverse. I don't know if you guys remember that. Let's go to weekly webcast here. Yeah. And right down here, you'll see, here it is here. Yeah. So I did one in the metaverse. Now, here's how it's going.
So previously, when we were using sheets,
here's how it's going to look. All right, hold on. So I'm not signed in, so I got to pass this ad, skip ads here. Yeah. Now you actually don't need to wear a VR headset in order for this to work. So what you can do is just use the arrow keys to kind of walk around, right? And you can teleport to different places as well. So right here, I'm teleporting from my classroom to my house. Okay, so here it is, switching the environment. And so you see I'm just using my mouse, that's what we say in Canada, as well as the arrow buttons. Okay, so you can, if you wanted to, you can download an app and join me in the metaverse, or you can, and with a VR headset like Oculus, or you just kind of use your arrow keys to walk around. Yeah, so that was an experiment we did a while back. I'm going to be doing a lot more of this in the future. I've got a metaverse version of my MBA launching later this year as well. Anybody sign up for my MBA gets it for free. This is me here, and apparently we don't have legs in the future. This guy here is somebody, he did a face of, looks like it's Ryan Reynolds, kind of funny. So anyway, that's visually, that's how it works. That was nine weeks ago with webcast 170. Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second. All right, cool. All right, next up, PV wrote, hello, Chris, how are you? And Manas wrote, as always, all my courses and classes are always available for Project Magu for free. It's our Project HEV Haroun Education Ventures family. Thank you, and God bless you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I've got a call with Vital, actually, later today. He's in Rwanda right now, and he's going to share with me a live update. Yeah. And we got solar working to power the school and the church there. Okay. All right. Next, and a lot of the proceeds, the profits from my courses and stuff, is for scholarships and schools and stuff I'm opening as well. Yeah. All right. Next up, I've got Hari. Hey, Hari. Hari wrote, Chris, in our daily dashboard. Yeah. And so Hari's referring to the in the MBA program. What I do is I provide you with tools to be able to accomplish way more every day. One of them is the daily dashboard. You wrote, do we have to write the most important goal at this point in our life? To explain my question further, do we have to put our short-term goal there and long-term goals? Yeah. So what I would do in the top of that template is put your North Star goal, right? Your long-term goal, and in brackets, put the deadline date. And then in the daily schedule part at the bottom, you can put in your shorter term goals. In brackets, always put a deadline date. And the reason that 90% of people give up their New Year's resolutions by the third week of January is because they don't have a deadline date. You got to set a deadline date for your goals. And you have to vocalize your goals and tell people about them, because it'll put pressure on you. And I say it with love in my heart. They'll put pressure on you to get it done. Yeah. So for example, when I was writing my book, I told my family I'm writing a book, and it took me a couple of years. And whenever I'd be at Thanksgiving dinner with my family, they'd say, how's that book coming along? Put pressure on me in a good way. And I finally got it done. So vocalize your goal and set a deadline date always. And as Elon Musk said, if you have a deadline date of 3 days, you'll get it done in 3 days. If you have a deadline date of 3 years, You'll get it done in 3 years. Always set a deadline date. Okay. Okay. And then Manas wrote, thank you for everything. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. And you wrote, good luck to Andrew for university. Yeah, sad he's going away already. Amazing. They grow up fast, guys. Okay, moving on to Shiva, who wrote, thank you so much, Chris, for answering my question. You're most welcome. I'm very sorry. No, don't apologize, please. I'm here for you. Yeah. You wrote, my question was about building a healthy company culture, not happy. Okay. As lately, I have a negative experience with a workplace. I had briefly talked to you about it before and starting the MBA course. Oh, I remember you. You're from Toronto, right? And you sent me a LinkedIn message. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. And if you want, you can reply to that message if I have an answer. I get so many inbounds. Yeah. You wrote, this has made me truly ponder the ways of building healthy and positive company culture. Yeah. So positivity I covered. In terms of healthy, what a lot of companies do is they'll offer free food for employees. It's expensive to do, but it can really help morale and productivity as well if you have healthy alternatives there. Yeah. Aside from that, what other companies do, my wife works part-time at IBM. They give all their employees Fitbits, right? And I think that helps with the life insurance policy for IBM, for example. So you can consider that. Now, I'm wearing right here something called an Oura ring, okay? O-U-R-A. And what this does, it has sensors on the bottom, okay? This one comes off, this one never does, yeah. It has sensors on the bottom. So it senses, my heartbeat as well as my sleep quality as well. I'm trying to improve my deep sleep, which is not that great. It measures REM as well. So you can look into getting a product like this if you want to, yeah. And maybe subsidizing it and giving it away to your employees. Yeah, and when you do that, it's a nice thing to do, but also it might help with the life insurance policies as well that you offer your employees in your company. And I'm not sure if OHIP in Ontario, where you're based, the government health plan would have some sort of sponsorship with that. Probably not. Okay, next up, Eunice. Eunice, how are you? First time I've seen you on the call. I hope you join us again. Eunice wrote, hi, Chris. I'm studying political science in college. Very cool. I loved your financial analyst course. Thank you. Also, I want to become an entrepreneur, but I don't have any ideas to solve a problem. How can I find an idea? Yeah, it's not easy. And when you do find one, you got to write your business plan thoroughly before spending a penny on anything. Yeah. So I like to think of the future. And in Hollywood, I refer to futurists in Hollywood as dreampreneurs. And so what happens is there's a really interesting relationship between Silicon Valley, which is here in the north of California, and Hollywood in the south of California. These dreampreneurs in Hollywood create these movies with cool futuristic tech. And a decade later, the techies in Northern California put it into practice, right? They actually make the product. Examples of this include the movie Minority Report made by Steven Spielberg, the one with Tom Cruise in it back in 2002. Minority Report had a prophetic impact on user design and technology. Remember in that movie, he was swiping in that virtual database? And so when it comes to swiping, that eventually became what you see in the iPad as well, and screen share. It's interesting. By the same token, the movie Her with Scarlett Johansson and Joaquin Phoenix back from 2013, it was voice-based, okay, audio-based, right? And basically, he fell in love with his PDA, Scarlett Johansson, yeah, her voice. And so that had a big impact as well in terms of Amazon thinking about Alexa, as well as Apple thinking about Siri, Cortana with Microsoft, which didn't work out, etc. And so what happens is these dreampreneurs in Hollywood kind of dream it up initially, and then maybe 10 years later or so, it gets put into practice. So as you think about business models, just think about what's going to be in vogue or in demand in the future. Now, Wayne Gretzky, and I haven't done a Wayne Gretzky reference in a while. Wayne Gretzky I'm Canadian as well, and I have to mention Gretzky, the great one. When Wayne Gretzky was asked, why are you successful? He would always say, it's because I didn't skate to where the puck is, but rather I skated to where the puck is going to be. And so the same thing when it comes to investing and thinking of ideas, companies to start. Skate to where the puck is going to be. create companies that you think are going to be relevant in sectors that are going to be relevant many years in the future. It's a land grab. So what happens usually is when you're an early adopter and you start a company and no one is in that sector, they think you're crazy. That's a good thing. And you get some success and they think, oh, okay, crazy genius maybe? And eventually you're a genius. Like many years ago, Elon Musk was talking about colonizing Mars. And I'm sure back then people thought he was crazy. But now we're thinking, oh my God, he's a genius. Yeah, so always think longer term of what will be, not what is now. All right. And give me 1 second here, guys. Okay. Okay, next up, we have Pearl, who's in my MBA program. How are you, Pearl? I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Hopefully you can join us again this week at 10 a.m. for the Silver MBA office hours over Zoom. So Pearl wrote, hi, Chris. So glad to have you back. Thank you. It's great to be back. Yeah. You wrote, I recently listened to Steve Jobs' thoughts on consulting. He pretty much thought nothing of it. What are your thoughts having been in consulting? Yeah. So I think that when a founder leaves a company, it's a bad investment. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time. Because a founder doesn't care about short-term goals or Wall Street or investors. The founder is long-term focused and has the full support of the board, right? So they can do whatever they want to grow the company. If a founder leaves a company, bureaucracy sets in and innovation dies. And the reason it dies is because senior management, all they're focused on is getting a raise and getting promoted. And if they take a big risk and innovate and they mess up, they're done. They can't climb the corporate ladder anymore. So what happens? Bureaucracy sets in and innovation dies. In that case, I really believe in hiring consultants, right? Especially transformational consulting firms like Accenture, where I used to work, to help with the technology infrastructure of the company and to help the company change to be more successful. Or McKinsey when it comes to strategy and decisions on buying versus building a new product, et cetera. The bottom line is, I believe in the consulting industry, mainly if the founder is no longer involved with the company. Okay, moving on to Mike Flynn. Hey, Mike, and thank you for subscribing to the MBA program as well. And Mike, I think you sent me an email about a link issue in my networking book. I'll fix that, and thank you. So Mike wrote, Chris, I joined the podcast late today, so sorry if you already covered this. No worries at all, please. But do you think Elon Musk's hostile takeover attempt of Twitter will be successful? Yeah. So I talked about it earlier, but not about the hostile takeover side. I don't think he's going to acquire the whole company. I think it's just 9% for now. Yeah. So, and if he does, I'm sure there'll be pushback from regulators. Yeah. But I love Elon Musk. Okay, Christina, how are you? Christina Hong is the head of the Haroun Education Ventures Alumni Association. She's our fearless leader. She's great. She's based here in the San Francisco Bay Area with her husband, Christian. They both graduated from the program last year. Christina, it's great to see you. And thanks for that email the other day about my live mic. Yeah. So Christina wrote, good morning, Chris, and our amazing global webcast and MBA family. Hope you're having an outstanding week so far. I am. Thank you. And your positive attitude is awesome. It's infectious. It's best. You wrote, cheers, Chris. I'm at 10 a.m. waterline and only 400 steps. How about you? Yeah. So we all compete in my MBA program, my platinum and gold students. So right now, and we have to finish this every day, I'm at about 9 a.m. But it's not fair because I got up at like 4 or 5 this morning. In terms of steps, what am I at now? So I try to get between 10 and 20,000 steps a day. I'm trying to get less now because I'm trying to put on muscle mass. Yeah. Okay. So I'm at 2,800 so far. Yeah. Great to see you as always, and thank you for everything. Okay. Okay. Next up, Wishwajit. Welcome to the call. First time I've seen you. Hope you join us again. Is copying an idea good, or is creating a unique idea better? So when it comes to copying an idea, you got to be careful when it comes to copyright infringement. And I'm not a patent lawyer or an intellectual property guy, but you can always go to LegalZoom.com and talk to an IP lawyer there. Yeah. In terms of patenting your idea, we talk about business law in my MBA program, so I explain how to do that sort of thing. And if you want, I can go to more detail on that right now. But I've actually copyrighted all my courses in terms of the content, and I've trademarked all the course names as well. A trademark protects a brand name. Copyright protects something like a book or a course or a movie, or computer code. Patents are completely different. It's basically locking in how to create something. And a lot of drug companies spend billions of dollars a year on patent attorneys. Okay. And by the way, if you're curious what Apple's going to do next, or any company's going to do next, you can always go to the USPTO. Okay, that's U.S. Government Patent Trademark Office, and uspto.gov, and search to see what patents have been filed, because you can find out, and it can kind of help you understand what's coming next. Let me show you really quickly. Okay, so if we go here to uspto.gov, okay, this is United States Patent and Trademark Office. What you can do is you can actually search for patents, or you can search for trademarks. And you can find out what companies are going to be doing it in the future. Now, this is kind of an archaic system here, the way it's set up. But if we type in Microsoft, okay, and let's go to all, see what comes up. Submit query. Okay, so these are Microsoft patents that or trademarks, I should say, they've set up. Ooh, what's this about Minecraft? Okay, this here. Okay. Xbox velocity architecture, that sort of thing. So you could always look through this stuff to see what's coming next for companies like Microsoft, etc., or any company for that matter. And it's great competitive intelligence for you as well when you're doing due diligence on companies. Okay. Next up, Hari wrote, Chris, is it okay to have more than 3 sentences in the chapters of a book? Each chapter has only 1 paragraph and a half page in length, so I feel not to break. What are your thoughts on this? Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to communicating, and writing articles, now I used to have my own article in Inc. magazine, and my editor used to tell me, he would say, Chris, 2 things. Number 1, write at an 8th grade level, which is easy for me because that's my maturity. And number 2, don't ever have more than 3 sentences in a paragraph, because it's overwhelming. Less is more. And I believe in very short chapters as well, kind of like a Roald Dahl book, like James and the Giant Peach. I love that as a kid because they're short chapters. Less is more. Okay, moving on to Kumar, who wrote, Hi, Chris. Hey, great to see you again. Likewise. I need a little help, of course. I was reading Financial Shenanigans and couldn't understand the following. Can you please explain? Absolutely. The sooner a company decides, and that's a book written by Howard Shillett. It's about finding trends in data so you can understand if companies are cooking the books or they're going to miss earnings or hiding something. You wrote, the sooner a company decides that technological feasibility has been achieved, the sooner it can become capitalizing costs and no longer charging them on the statement of income. I actually don't know how to answer that, aside from the fact that, actually, I don't even know how to answer that. I don't know the answer to that at all. But when I look at financial statements, I don't look at the GAAP statements. I look at pro forma, because pro forma, and I teach about this in my MBA program, includes only cash items. It doesn't include non-cash stuff like capitalizing or depreciation, goodwill, etc. Now, if I was in an interview, I would say this. I would say, I don't know, but I'll find out. And then later on that day, you email the person you interviewed with saying, thank you, and here's my answer. Okay. All right, next up, Steve Adaremi wrote, follow-up to my question above regarding Elon and Twitter. Elon is buying Twitter outright as announced. Oh my God, is that right? Oh, I didn't see that, dude. I don't know if regulators would approve that. I got to check this out. Oh my God. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see here. Twitter, I didn't see that. Hold on 1 second. TWTR news. Okay. Oh, right here. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. SEC. I don't know if the SEC is going to agree with it, and Twitter might reject the offer. Wow. Thanks for telling me that. I had no idea. This is fun though. Let's look at this in real time. Hold on. Twitter, and I'll just search news here. Interesting. Oh, wow. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So basically the market is saying they don't agree that it's going to happen. So I'm going to walk through this in real time with you and tell you how event-driven deals occur and why stocks don't trade up to above the offer price or close to it. So let me digest this very, very quickly. So it looks like he's going to buy Twitter for $54.20 per share. We're going to go together in a second to sec.gov to check this out. So let's go here to find out what Twitter is trading at right now. So 54 and change is what the takeout value is supposed to be. TWTR. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So the market doesn't think it's going to go through. Okay. For a couple reasons. Number one, the company might reject the offer, right? And number two, the SEC might reject it as well, which is my gut on this sort of thing. So what usually happens is when one company announces they're buying another company for a certain dollar amount, the stock spikes, usually, but not in this case, and I'll get to this in a second. The stock spikes if people think the deal will go through, but it doesn't go up to the exact value of the price that the acquiring company is going to pay. So for example, if a company is at $10 and another company wants to buy them for $15, what happens is instead of the stock going to 15, it usually goes to 14 and a bit. And the reason is because we don't know if the deal is going to go through. Now, in the rare case of competitive offers, if we think there's going to be other bidders out there that could buy a company, it goes through that pricing level, goes above $15, but rarely. This is interesting. So the market is saying, I don't think it's going to happen. The SEC probably wouldn't approve it, but it's interesting. Now, okay, next thing we'll do is this. We'll go to sec.gov. And this is what the institutional investors are doing right now. Okay, so let's type in Twitter. Okay, here we go. And let's look at the filings. And I like the classic version better. Okay, here it is. Here, today's date is the 14th. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to open this one, and we'll look at this one first. Okay, here we go. All right. Elon Musk. Okay, here we go. Okay, this was when he had 9.1%, and that's old news. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it's an all-cash deal for $54.20. Okay, interesting. Isn't that interesting? You'd think the stock would rise to that amount. So when Microsoft announced they wanted to buy Activision for $70 billion all-cash deal, Activision stock went up to about $70 billion, right? A little bit less. So in this case, it's not going there. Right, and so it's a 38% premium. Now, usually when one company buys another, it's a 30% premium on average. So the reason the stock is now not at that level now, I would assume, is because it's a 38% premium from April 1st. The reason it's not at that level right now is because people are assuming that the deal won't go through. Right, and also the stock ran up a lot already after Elon announced he bought 9% of the company because there's speculation he might try to buy more of it. Yeah, it's interesting. Isn't that fascinating, huh? Huh. Yeah. Yeah, and the SEC is going to be all over this one. Investors don't think it's going to go through. Fascinating. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. I bet you there's a ton of hedge funds that are pissed off with that deal. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Next up, Hari wrote, Chris, how do you find the date of the annual shareholder meeting? I could not find that detail on the company's website. Yeah. So usually on a company's website, if you go to investor relations, you'll find it there. Okay. So do a search in Google on investor relations and the company name, and you'll find it there. If you can't find it there, just search for previous dates of annual shareholder meetings, and it's usually on the same date every single year. Otherwise, you can always email investor relations at the company, and they'll tell you. Yeah, they'll respond. That's their job. All right. All right, next up we got Fred. Hey, Fred, how are you? Fred Mendoza, great to see you. He's one of my amazing students from Washington. And thank you so much at the graduation ceremony, that video you played for me of you standing in front of the Lincoln Memorial and saying some nice words. So thank you. God bless you for that. I hope you're doing well. And thanks for your help on the option stuff too. Okay. And then you wrote, Happy Easter. Thanks. Likewise. Same to you. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have got exciting day, huh? Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Next up, Joe wrote, Joe Ferrari. Oh, you got the most dope last name ever. I love it. Yeah. And if you're related to Enzo Ferrari, let me know, please. So Joe wrote, hi, Chris. How can I add text to my YouTube videos, but not over the video itself? Yeah. Yeah. So if you mean in the description field, I could show you that. In terms of cards over top of it, I'll show you that very quickly. Okay. So what you do is you go into, and I'm going to have to actually open up a new window that's not private. Let's go into YouTube, and I'll go into my account here. Here we go. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to go to my channel here, YouTube Studio, and I'll show you exactly how this works. Okay, great. So for example, this was just released, this video just a second ago. So let me go here to content, and I'll look at that with you. Actually, I'll look at this one here, Pinterest from yesterday. Okay. All right. So if I go here. How does Pinterest make money? Yeah. So you'll see here, oh, Chris Haroun is live now. It's a new one. I didn't see that before. Neat. So what happens is I set it up so that after a certain number of seconds, you get this thing saying get your MBA online, and it clicks and goes to my website, and then I have my 101 Crucial Lessons book. By the way, you guys can get it all for free. I added 100 pages to it of new content. Just look at any of my videos, go to the corner there. So the way you do this is you go to Edit Video, okay, and this really helps with conversions as well and sales of my products. So you click here on cards, okay, and what you do is you click Add a Card, and you can add a playlist, a card, and you want to upload the image, and then here's where you actually say exactly where to put this. Okay, and that's basically it. If you have additional questions about that, please let me know. Let me shut this down here. Thanks. Okay. All right. Next up, Christina wrote, Christian wanted me to tell you he really likes your new background and color scheme. Looks great. Thank you. That means a lot. Christian's dope. He's awesome. And Christian, for those of you that aren't familiar with Christina's husband, Christian. He is probably the smartest guy on the planet when it comes to video games. He works right now at Sony PlayStation. He's worked in the past for Electronic Arts, EA Sports, it's in the game. And he worked on sports titles too, I think. He also worked for LucasArts. Yeah, that's a big compliment coming from him. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next up, we got Ankit, who wrote, hi, Chris. Which tech businesses are going to work in developing economies? Yeah. I think any sort of freemium business model is great in all economies, right? Where you get access to just basic services for free, and then you can always upscale or upgrade to additional offerings. Yeah. So for example, Facebook, almost all their products are free to consumers. And get this is terrifying, but this is a staggering statistic. Facebook is so powerful that every person on this planet, about 40% of every people on the planet, use at least one Facebook app every month, okay? It's because the pricing point is low, it's free, right? And then they can upsell just to advertisers. So I would say a product that is affordable, that has a freemium and a premium service, yeah. And that's what I believe in as well. So these weekly calls are free things I do. It's fun. And of course, I can always upsell. Yeah. Okay, next up, Eunice wrote, thanks for your answer, Chris. It was a very good answer. You're the best. Thank you. And thanks for that emoji as well. I love it. You put a smile on my face. Okay, Salman wrote, S-L-M-A-N, sorry. Salman wrote, hello, Chris. How are you doing? I'm always great. Thanks. Always. Because I practice gratitude before I go to bed every morning. Yeah. And then he wrote, do you think Shiva will hit 10 cents anytime soon? I don't know much about that. If you want, you can contact Peyton Kalawahea, who knows much more about that. He's in the United States Navy. He's one of my graduates from last year. And he's got an amazing website that'll help you with all that stuff. Do a search on Peyton. Yeah. Okay. Next up, CSS. Javier. Whenever I see it, I think of cascading style sheets. I'm a techie. So Javier is CSS wrote, "Good morning, Chris. Chilly day in the Bay Area. Reporting from the construction site." Awesome. Awesome. And it was wonderful doing a call with you as well. You have a beautiful backyard. Remember our last call with your awesome barbecue. Yeah. It's great to see you, man. I'm looking forward to our next call as well. And your LinkedIn profile is looking great. It is chilly today, you're right. Okay. Next up, Pulasti wrote, nice shirt, sir. Chris, please, thank you. When did you release your programming course? Did you release that course on Udemy? It's not out yet. It's not out. But what I'm doing is I'm adding it to my MBA degree program. Yeah. So anybody that signs up for my MBA program will get that. Yeah. And I'm going to be teaching a lot of stuff, a lot of programming stuff. It's going to be fun. And I love it. It's fun. All right, and Shiva, who I said, you're from Toronto. I remember exchanging messages. You wrote, yes, that's correct. And yes, I am from Toronto. Thank you for your help. Much appreciated. I love your emoji. God bless you. And namaste and all that great stuff. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I remember now. You mentioned something to me based on a certain video I have published. I remember exactly what it was. And I told you I'm happy to give you my MBA for free. So tell you what, send me a message and I'll give you my platinum MBA for free. We start June 1st. Yeah. Okay. And that's our 4th one-year program. And then Sam wrote, I'm excited for your real estate and programming courses. Thank you. I'm going to do the programming stuff first. I will do real estate as well. I wanted to fly up to London, Ontario, where I bought a couple of buildings. And I wanted to film all that for the real estate part. It's going to be a little while before I'm able to fly up there, though. Yeah. I want to do it right, but I will add it. Okay. Okay, next question is, what are your thoughts on gold streaming? I don't know what that means. Yeah, in terms of gold in general, and you wrote here, should long-term value investors who plan on holding for a year or more sell as many calls as possible? I see. Okay, there's 2 separate questions there. So in terms of gold in general, whenever I buy gold, I usually buy ticker GLD. I don't buy gold bars because I don't know if they're real or not. And a lot of people do, and don't do what I'm about to explain. But a lot of people will go into Chinatown here in San Francisco and buy real gold bars for cash. And then they'll put them in a safe. And then when gold goes up, they'll sell them somewhere else for cash. And they don't pay taxes. But don't do that. That's illegal. When I buy gold, I buy ticker GLD, and I'll show you exactly how to do it and where it is. So it's actually an ETF. You just type in GLD. That's a ticker here. Okay. So when I buy gold, I buy this because it's very liquid. It trades a lot. The volume today is already 5 million shares, right? Times 184. And also, it's real gold. It's real gold. Now, I pay a little bit of a fee, 0.5% per year on this. Oh, it looks like it's 0.4% now. Went down. Good. All right. So that means that for every $100 I put into this ETF for buying gold, I pay 40 pennies every year. And I'm fine with that because it's liquid. I can get in and out really quickly as well. Now, I usually buy gold when I think the economy is going to be awful and the markets will do really poorly in the next couple of years. It's a flight to quality. So in 2008, my biggest long position in my hedge fund was GLD. Yeah. I couldn't find that many other things to buy. Okay, next up, should long-term value investors who plan on holding for a year or more sell as many calls as possible? Yeah. So yeah, what you're referring to is the process of underwriting. Okay, just like how an investment banker will underwrite an IPO. When you sell calls or puts, and I cover this in FA 4.4 in my MBA program, Finance and Accounting Semester 4, Class 4. It's a 30-hour elective. But when you sell calls, what's happening is you're underwriting them. Now, it's important for me to mention because when you underwrite calls and you sell them, which is also called shorting, there's 3 ways to refer to that: underwriting, shorting, selling, same thing. When you do that, there is a risk you can be assigned. And what that means is the Option Clearing Corporation can randomly pick you if somebody wants to close out that position. Okay, it's less than 10% chance of happening, but that could ruin us. Yeah, be really, really careful with that, please. Yeah. And I recommend practicing using Thinkorswim. That's an application you can use for a long, long time before making real trades, as I talk about in the FA44. Thanks. Okay. Or if you're going to do it, make sure you're hedged on the other side of that trade as well, kind of like a straddle, so to speak. Yeah. And there's 30 different option strategies I talk about in FA44 as well. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Real JP wrote, "Hey, Chris, I'm from India. Excellent. Great to see you. 11% of my viewers in this weekly call are from India. Thank you." And then you wrote, "I have an investment deal. They're providing debt against 48% of shares of my pre-seed startup fund, and they also want to be board directors. Should I go with the deal?" Yeah, a couple of things there. Number one, it sounds like it's a convert. So a lot of times when startups want to raise money, they do a convert. And what that means is this. It's a debt instrument that converts to equity usually later. So it's a debt instrument where you'll pay 6 or 7% interest on it. And then when you raise money later from other investors, it converts from debt into equity, like ownership. And it usually converts at a 20% discount to whatever valuation is on your next round. So in terms of that deal, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the exact terms, but in terms of you saying, should I take that deal and let them join my board? So I know what you're doing. You're setting up at 48%, so you could still have a controlling stake in the company. That's a lot, because what's going to happen is the next time you raise money, you're going to get diluted more so you'll own less than 50% early on. So you'll lose voting control. Okay, unless they're common shares, they're probably preferred shares. Talk to a lawyer first before doing that, please. Please, yeah. Also, in terms of then joining your board, just be careful, because bad board members, it's worse than a divorce. You know, with a divorce, you get divorced and you're done, you don't see each other. But with a bad investor, they're a thorn in your side. They never go away, right? They're a pain in the neck. So just be really careful and go with your gut too. And it's kind of hard for me to explain, but I think you know what I'm talking about, to the extent that you ever get screwed over by somebody in business or in a personal relationship, and you told yourself, I don't trust this person, but I'm going to go through this relationship, I think, or business deal. And later on you get screwed over and you're upset. You're like, why did I do that? You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So go with your gut. Do due diligence as well, okay? Do a lot of due diligence on that. And I know that we don't all have the luxury of being able to select who our investors are, but it'd be nice if you could. Be nice if you could by networking and finding other investors out there. Yeah, be careful. And have a lawyer look at the documents first, please, because I'd hate for you to give up voting control of your company. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote here, I just finished an entire MBA in one book. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's a textbook, actually, I wrote for my students when I used to teach during the evenings at MBA universities and other undergraduate institutions. Yeah, it's fun. Okay. And then Sam wrote here, will some of your books, like an Introduction to Business Law for Entrepreneurs or the Ultimate Practical Business Manual, be available on your website or MBA program? You get all my stuff in my MBA degree program, yeah. But the Ultimate Practical Business Manual, that was the name of my textbook when I taught during the evenings. And it's the exact same thing with a different cover to the entire MBA in one book. I just rebranded it, yeah. But of course, I give you everything. Avi Pro, dude, it has been a while, my friend. I hope you're doing well. So Avi Pro is a pilot. He's based in Sweden, and he's a techie as well. Yeah, great to see you, and I hope you're enjoying the new flight simulator. Yeah. So Avi Pro wrote, hello, Chris. It's been a while. Great to see you. When will your program courses be available? I'm looking mostly for the Python one. Yeah. So Python, not this year. Okay, this year I'm doing more basic programming stuff. We're starting off with Visual Basic for applications within Excel. And the reason I'm starting with that is because the great thing about learning programming with Excel is you record a macro, and the macro automatically converts into code. Then you manipulate the code. It's easier that way. And it's through what are called sub-procedures. And you're more techie than I am. I'm sure you know about this. So I'm teaching it with, I got a 3D printer. I'm trying, and I'll be printing more stuff for the wall too. But I'm teaching it using props. I'm going to teach coding in a different and fun way that's never been done before, visual. Okay. So for example, a subroutine or a sub procedure, I should say, within, this is just a mock-up, an early rendition, within Excel. When you, this is the subroutine at the bottom, this is the end sub. Clever? No? Sorry. And on the inside, you have a bunch of functions, dim variables, etc. So I'm going to start with this, okay? And then what I'll do is I'll expand upon it once we get to Python, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, I'm using a lot of props as well. Whenever you want to do something coding-wise, you go big to small. So if I want to turn this eraser green, I would go pencil.eraser.color equals green, that sort of thing. But I'm looking forward to the challenge. Okay, next up, Hari wrote, Chris, I listed the CEO and founder of a charity on my resume. Currently, I'm contributing very small to the charity, but not a registered one. Is it okay to list this on my resume? Let me think. Okay, you list. Okay, so you put yourself as a CEO and founder of a charity. Yeah, it's not registered. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to register a charity, right? So, for example, projectmagu.org, for ages it wasn't registered. It doesn't matter. You're doing a good thing. It is registered now in Germany through Vital, my partner on this. Yeah, one of my platinum students from a couple of years ago. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. It's okay to list on your resume. I say go for it. Yeah, of course you don't want to give the impression you're spending 80 hours a week doing it. But no, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And if you're in my platinum program, I help you write your resume and LinkedIn profile from scratch during our confidential one-on-one meetings. Yeah. Okay. And Christina, thank you for writing. Congratulations to Shiva on joining our platinum program. Yeah, and welcome to the HEV family. Amen. Okay. All right, give me 1 second here. Hold on a second here. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. All right, so if anybody has additional questions, please type them now. We have to wrap up the call soon for my Silver MBA Zoom office hours. If you're in the Silver MBA program, and you can go to harounmba.com to learn more. But if you're in the Silver MBA program, if you go to the first lecture, after you purchase, you sign in all that stuff, I provide you with the link to my weekly 10 a.m. Zoom call. Okay, so it's 1 hour. So it's 10 to 11. If you're in my Gold and Platinum program, we have a 2-hour weekly webcast and one-on-ones, and that starts at 11:20 a.m. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, and I'm launching my next MBA program, as many of you probably know by now. I'm launching it on June 1st. And so I'm going to be teaching my next Gold and Platinum program. This is our 4th annual one. It's starting June 1st. And it's going to be every Wednesday from 9 a.m. Pacific time until 3 p.m. or later Pacific time. That's every Wednesday. And if you can't attend the lessons live, you can always watch the replays. That's 300 hours, probably 350 hours of lessons, including electives, plus 200 hours, more than 200 hours of live Q&A after each lesson. Okay. And then there's also going to be 3 hours of one-on-one meetings with me in the Platinum program. Again, check it out at harounmba.com/FAQ to learn more about that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be a smaller class as well. It's going to be fun though. Yeah. And there's limited openings, all that stuff. Yeah. Okay. Let me get rid of that. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay, and Patricia wrote here, I like the idea of the real estate portion, as my long-term goal is to perform inner-city rehabilitation of property to be resold to inner-city residents at a small profit to help others. I love that. I love that. Now, I think you're my Platinum program. You're based in New Jersey. Yeah, awesome. Very cool. Very cool. And a lot of my bosses used to work at Short Hills or live in Short Hills. That's those are the partners of Goldman Sachs there. Yeah, and I used to go to Teterboro actually to fly out to Martha's Vineyard. I didn't own the plane. My friend did. Yeah, great to see you. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for joining me on this weekly webcast. Again, if you're interested in learning more about this next MBA program, just go to Haroun MBA or HarounEducation.com. It's all the same. And then I've got all my courses listed here as well. So you can learn more about this. I've got a big sale on right now. So you can get half price on the Silver MBA, Gold and Platinum, the next program. These are live. This is on demand. You start today. These start June 1st. Limited spots. Gold, I've got it $500 off at $999 right now. Platinum, I've got it $1,000 off at $1,499. You get a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee with this and all my other stuff. And recently I added this here. Okay, and I wrote new because I added something new to it. So I've got a subscription program now if you're interested in. It's $99 per month, and you get all 28 courses, meaning all the courses you see down on this website here. There's tons of them, okay? You get all 28 courses, plus you get to join the Silver MBA as well, okay? And it's over 500 hours, and you get 4 hours of group Zoom calls with me. It's only 20 cents per hour of lessons. If anybody has questions about our certification programs, any of my courses here, or the MBA program, just email me at admissions@harounventures.com. To learn more about the MBA, the Gold and Platinum MBA that's starting on June 1st, you can always go here to, let's see here, go to Buy Courses here, and then go to Details on the June 1st Gold and Platinum MBA. I explain the differences between the programs, tons of FAQs, videos, all that great stuff, student testimonials, etc. Yeah. Cool. All right. Give me 1 second here, guys. Awesome. Great. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. If you're in the Silver program, again, go to the first lecture of the MBA curriculum and join me today at 10 a.m. For our 1 hour Zoom call. And thank you. God bless y'all. Have a great weekend. Thank you.